children of Nigeria, and peace is what we need, so that all can live as one.
Peace ensures good health, brings development, creates wealth, gives life, and promises us salvation. Why not therefore listen to Reverend Sister Mary Gloria Njoku as she talks peace?
Good evening, my dear listener. We pray today for the grace to make peace our quest and aim, and realize that a peaceful world needs a peaceful me. A report in May 2011 on the Global Peace Index highlighted that had the world been 25% more peaceful in the past year, the global economy would have benefited by an additional $2 trillion, which would account for 2% of global GDP per annum, required to mitigate global warming, cover all costs to achieve the Millennium Development Goals, cancel all public debt held by Greece, Ireland, and Portugal, and cover the rebuilding costs for the 2011 Tokyo earthquake and tsunami. Have you ever dreamed about a joyful world with peace and prosperity for all humankind? A world in which we respect and love each other, despite the differences in our culture, religion, and way of life. I often feel challenged when I see the world in turmoil, a result of the differences between our ideas. This leads to grief and sorrow being inflicted on millions of innocent victims by a few who abuse the power of their convictions. What is peace? To most people, peace is simply the absence of war, or the lack of violence or conflict, and freedom from fear of violence. But I would like to remind you that peace also involves the establishment of equality, justice, security, and prosperity in matters of social and economic welfare that will serve the true interest of all. How do we make or create peace? It simply begins with our own personal word. I believe that as individuals, it is easier to make just one person a bit happier. What this means is that while saving every soul in the world may not be possible, small acts in our daily lives have a way of multiplying so that the world changes one person at a time. So, can a peaceful world be achieved? I believe it can be attained through the realization of 5 basic fundamental freedoms for all people everywhere in the world. They are freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom from want, freedom from the environment, and freedom from fear. 4 of these 5 freedoms originated with U.S. President Franklin Roosevelt in his State of the Union address to the U.S. Congress in January 1941. Of course, other rights are needed too, but these 5 fundamental freedoms establish a framework within which our rights can flourish. Please look at your hand for a moment. Hold it up, palm facing you. You can see that we all have 5 fingers, but the first we call a thumb. In appearance, it looks different. It stands out, and it is strong. It represents freedom of speech, the idea that stands out, that stands up to dishonesty and corruption. Next, look at your index finger. We point with this one. It gives us direction. It represents freedom of religion. Each of us is free to choose our own direction, with or without God. And for those who decide that God is their guide, then they are free to have their own relationship with God without the state telling them what that relationship must be. Interference by the state pollutes the relationship with God. Third is the middle finger, the longest of all. It represents freedom from want, the long road of existence, and the certainty that there will be food, water, shelter, education, and healthcare for every one of us, no matter where we may be on that road. Next, for many of us, is the marriage ring finger, either the right or the left hand, and for all of us, a finger with a direct link to our nervous system. It represents freedom for the environment, life. We all have a direct link to the earth and the ecosystem of which we are a part. When the life of the earth is spoiled, our lives are spoiled. Finally, there is our little finger, shorter and smaller than the rest. It represents freedom from fear. It is the final of our hands, our reward. All the others lead to this one. As you take a look at your hand and recount the 5 freedoms, Remember that you didn't ask for that hand. You were born with it. So too, you do not have to ask for the 5 freedoms. You were born with it. Remember the words of Mahatma Gandhi. We must become the change we want to see in the world. So, a peaceful world requires a peaceful me and you. And therefore, we must continue to say, let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Feel free to share your stories of peace with me at 0806 561 3687 or by visiting me at Godfrey Koye University, Enugu.
Are you a child of God? If not, look for and grab peace. For blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God.